I'm in Lyme Regis at the start of the old Chalkway, a 360-mile route across England to King's Lynn. It takes in most of the ridgeway, the Icknield Way and Peddar's Way, which together people think may be the oldest highway in Britain. This is known as the Dorset Coast. If you can see the cliffs behind me, lots of fossils have been found here, and the most famous fossil hunter of them all is Mary Anning. Today's going to be a brutal day. It's going to be hot, up to 30 degrees, and Dorset, where I am, is not flat. There's nothing particularly high, but it either goes up or down. Signposts are a bit manic, aren't they? Let's talk chalk. After all, this is the old Chalkway. This was laid down in the Cretaceous period, the third of the great eras of the dinosaurs. And if you think about Tyrannosaurus rex and Triceratops, they were Cretaceous dinosaurs. Yes, they were in Jurassic Park, but Cretaceous Park didn't sound so good. Apparently there were only 2 Jurassic dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, but that's another issue. So the world was much warmer than it is today. So this was covered in like a really shallow sea, and it would evaporate and then refill and evaporate over, you know, thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of years. And every time it evaporated, it left behind shellfish, and their shells are basically got crushed down into this chalk. And if you look at the deposits of chalk in the south of England, to me they look sort of like a leaf or a palm frond, and they have these sort of this main stem that we're going on towards Cambridgeshire and Norfolk, but there were these branches down to the coast. So White Cliffs of Dover was one of those branches, and they were used as long distance trading routes because they were well drained. Chalk drains very well, so it was easy to walk, and also the ridges meant that you could see any enemies. It was harder to be ambushed by bandits or enemies or whoever. So we're going to see a lot of chalk. It's a profit. Ladies and gentlemen, behind me on the hillside is the biggest penis in Britain, the Cerne Giant. There's a lot of mystery behind it. You would have thought with a 11-metre long penis, you know, somebody would have written stuff down about it. But the current thinking is that it is an ancient representation of Hercules. That sometime in the late Middle Ages, somebody who hated Oliver Cromwell decided to add some genitals and a belly button because Hercules was Cromwell's nickname. And then the current thinking is in 1908 or so that somebody joined the small genitals together with the belly button to create a very, very large penis. Oh, apparently it's the postcards is the only pornographic picture you're allowed to send by Royal Mail. Tired and dehydrated. No matter how much I drink, I'm starting to make a few mistakes. I knew today was going to be hard. I didn't know it was going to be this hard. Oh, both legs cramping now, despite my attempts to rehydrate. So, end of day one, and I am at the campsite at Oakford Fitzpaine, and I'm the only one here. My little tent. Absolutely nobody else on a Friday night in June, which surprised me. I had a bit of a tough day, 80 kilometers and 1700 meters climbing, so quite a lot of hike and bike, because a lot of these climbs were quite loose gravel climbs, so I had to do a lot of getting off and walking. It was 30 degrees today, and it did affect me. At one point I stopped and glugged a load of water and vomited straight back up again, which is very unpleasant. So I'm slowly rehydrating myself now, and going to have just some camp dinner here, I think, rather than going anywhere. There is a big pond going on, a small lake at the campsite. Fortunately, you're not allowed to swim in it, and there's no showers, so there's no way of getting clean. That was definitely likely to be the hardest day. Garmin says there are 31 designated climbs, and I did, I think, 13 today. Yeah, it's been hard. It's been really cool, but it's been really hard. So day 2, and it's going to be another hot one. 28 rather than 30, but hey, I think I'll still be flapping about by lunchtime. It's the summer solstice, and I'm hoping to get to Stonehenge. I feel like I'm properly on the ridgeway now. These wonderful tracks across the top of hills and wonderful views on either side. There's not many places in the UK you can ride on gravel for this length of time. Stonehenge, Neolithic monument, built somewhere between 3000 and 1500 BC, and if you think about that, 1500 years, that's the same time between now and the Romans leaving Britain if you went backwards. So when people try and work out what Stonehenge is for, I sometimes think, well, it's probably for lots of things, because it was rebuilt and moved about at different times. Big stones were moved about 24 miles away, but the smaller ones, some of them were brought from Wales over 130 miles ago. I would love to have seen the minutes of the committee meeting that decided that. We have a bit of a problem. I checked and this was meant to be a non-firing day on the Larkhill Ranges and red flags are flying. Hiya. I thought the ranges were open today, do you know? It says on the, I've just looked it up again, it says there's no firing on Larkhill.
No, they're definitely firing, yeah. I don't know, because I'm just going with my map, which goes around it.
Oh right, so you can go along here with...
Yeah, as long as you're not going into the... Yeah, you can go wherever, yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks very much. Okay. So day 3, heading onto the ridgeway proper today, the Great Ridgeway. It was the classic bit. Had a fantastic burger and chips and a couple of pints last night, recharge the calories. But the campsite's the second one in a row with no showers, which means I'm definitely starting to whiff a bit, so I hope tonight's one has some decent facilities so I can get clean. So I'm at Avebury Stone Circle, one of the biggest stone circles in the world. Neolithic. It's got a henge on the outside, if you can see that bank behind me. And then a couple of rings of stones. And it's also probably my favourite story on this trip, is that in a moment of religious fervour back in the early 1300s, a gang started pulling over the stones, seeing them as the devil's work. But one of them fell on top of one of these guys and squished him. And nobody touched the stones anymore. And I think it was 1936, they pulled the stone upright and they found his body with a coin dating back to 1304 or something like that. So the story went down through hundreds of years and it appears to be true. What's quite interesting here is that the village has kind of been built into the circle, but it's a very atmospheric place. Unfortunately this trip I can't take a lot of time to stop and enjoy it too much, so I must push on. So I'm on the ridgeway proper. I think this is certainly what I imagined it was going to look like, with these snaking white paths leading up the hillside. New Age traveller still a thing, eh? Looks like it. So I've just ridden across Barbary Hill Fort, an Iron Age fort, and it's big. Look at the size of the ditch between the two ramparts. Absolutely massive. So this is Wayland Smithy, a Neolithic long barrow, but the name is much later. Wayland was a Germanic smith god, So this was probably named by the Saxons 4,000 years after it was built. There were lots of bodies buried here. Just crossing the Thames at Goring. Apparently this is the halfway point in effort, if not in distance. Good. It's been a fantastic day up on the ridgeway for the vast majority of the day. Surprisingly, as we were going through middle England, really quite densely populated, I didn't see any towns or villages for a long time. I was quite pleased to get to Goring on Thames and get hold of some water. So it's just raining a little bit here in the campsite, which is why I'm hiding under this cover. The family who ran this place said that because it's busy I should camp in the garden, which I'm finding a little bit odd. So day 4, I've escaped the traffic of Wallingford and come across quite a difficult little bit of single track, which would be alright if the bike wasn't laden and I hadn't just woken up. But I'm not sure what really to expect today, although it might be a long day. I think I might have messed up my distances slightly, pulled this campsite a wee bit early and the next one a bit late, but we shall see how we progress. Feel like we're on the ridgeway again. Probably because we are. House name, Icknield House, gives a clue to the next part of the ride after the ridgeway, the Icknield Way. Just we get to HS2, because there's nothing else that big. Yeah. Door. It's apparently a monument to the father of inland navigation. Maybe that was his canal we passed a while back. This is Ivanhoe Beacon, which I'm not going to climb because I don't have time. But this is where I thought the Icknield Way met the Ridgeway. But actually I'm not surprised that 20 or 30 miles of it that way is known as the Icknield Way, because it didn't feel the same as the Ridgeway. It wasn't up on the chalk downs. It was sort of all the tracks through the forest. Icknield is thought to come from the Iceni tribe, which spawned Boudica, the warrior queen and scourge of the Romans. But this was their road, and I suppose we're heading deep into their territory now. Whoever designed this bridge has never seen a bike before. What an epic day. I thought it was going to be 65, maybe 70 miles, and I must have just got my brain in a twist when spotting campsites, because that was 84, and with the chill turns at the start, that was a hard 84. The first half was really hard and slow, lots of not just climbs but sort of rooty tracks through forests. Absolutely brilliant. I've absolutely loved it. Campsite is extremely basic. Woke up to light rain, but it's stopped fortunately. A bit overcast, but it's been cheered up by 2 red kites flying over the campsite. The red kites have definitely been a highlight of this trip. So back on the Icknield Way, which seems to be alternating between these sort of 3-metre wide grassy strips with the exposed chalk path, and then more functional farm tracks in between. So I wasn't that disappointed to see the back of the campsite, because it definitely had a strange air about it. You could just imagine a reporter standing with a microphone in front of a police tape. So the other problem was there was nowhere to charge anything, so I've got no phone, no nothing. Another busy road. Get to Essex. That's the penultimate hill in Garmin, and the only one today. Oh, soft gravel at the top, pretty brutal. That's some fun kid. Made good time today, despite the fact gear shifting's all out. This happened to me last time. I bikepacked and the bike was out in the rain. Just stopped shifting upwards. I'm trying to work it on the fly, so it's just about working. It's working down okay, but with the flatter roads it's a real problem, because you know of the second freewheel downhill, but that's turning into real pain. But I don't really want to start trying too much experimentation in the middle of the day until I get to the campsite, so I'm going to have to fiddle on with it and see if I can get it going. In the meantime, just going to have some lunch. Today turned into a bit of a day. The footage will have cut off suddenly because all my batteries seemed to die at once. Garmin went, so I didn't know where I was going. My phone pretty much went the same time, so I didn't have my backup route to know where I was going. All I knew was I had to go north out of Thetford and then east through Watton to Hingham, where the campsite was. I ended up doing at least 21 miles when the direct route is 15. My route was along A roads and B roads largely, and at rush hour, and I was just getting so much exhaust. It was definitely type 2 fun. But the good news is this campsite is gorgeous. I've just been to the pub in Hingham and had a very nice dinner, and I've been plotting my route, and I missed a lot of Peddar's Way by going up that bloody A road, so I'm going to loop back south a little bit and pick up some of it, but it also means I avoid the B road and A road sections pretty much. So I think I've got a win-win in that. So day 6 has got off to an interesting start. This morning I tried to re-index the gears myself. Didn't work terribly well, so I looked up local bike shop. There was one supposedly in the next village. I ring the guy, no answer. So I decide, well, let's just rock up. It might be in the middle of a repair, and it's quite a modern domestic house. Ring the doorbell. Just about to give up when a woman in a wheelchair has to fight her way through the inner porch to answer the door. And the bike repair business belongs to her ex-husband, who has moved into another village and a bit further away, and isn't very pleased that he hasn't changed the address of the business. So I've decided to push on. I've got about 4 or 5 working gears. That's the way it is. It's going to be one of those days, isn't it? So, back on the Peddar's Way, and I think on the Peddar's Way properly. As I say, I drifted a little bit south out of Hingham to pick up a bit more of it, because otherwise I was worried I was going to miss too much. And it's very atmospheric through the woods here. Peddar means peddler, itinerant, people wandering around, stuff to sell, looking for casual work, being blamed for the world's ills. It's also said to be haunted by a black hound called Old Shuck, if I remember right. I will keep my eyes peeled. This part of Peddar's Way is marked as a Roman road, which you can tell because it just goes straight where the tarmac roads go off. Although I did almost come a cropper here in the sand behind me. It's coming downhill, reasonable pace. Got a fly in my eye, hit it deep, load of sand. Nearly went arse over tip, but hey, just about recovered. Hey, not far to go now. So I made it. Well, I'm calling this it because, as you see, the sea is still quite some distance in the background there, but I'm not pushing a laden bike across a really soft sand to dip the wheel in the water. We'll take that as read. I've done quite a lot today. Really pleased, actually. I dipped south at the start of today just to pick up one of the main off-road parts of Peddar's Wood, because that was really atmospheric alongside the firing range. You can imagine a black dog hunting it, or Robin Hood and his merry men, or characters out of Game of Thrones. It had a real ancient feel about it, because even though it's an ancient track, you're mainly sort of following Land Rover tracks for most of it, which takes away some of the mystery, I suppose. But what amazing 6 days ride it's been. You know, just thinking back to the things like, you know, going past Stonehenge, Avebury Stone Circle, really liked Avebury Stone Circle. But the best bits are probably the bits you couldn't see on the GoPro, which were the red kites flying overhead, the multitude of butterflies just fluttering up in front of me everywhere I went, the beautiful chalk flowers, hares, deer, quite a lot of wildlife. So all that was amazing, and I'm afraid a GoPro is not a wildlife camera, so you won't have seen much of that. But yeah, head down the road to Unstanton, find my campsite. There's nothing here in the way of ice cream or anything, so I'm going to go down and get an ice cream to celebrate, and then some fish and chips. But yeah, what a long, strange trip it's been.